You're running the gambit today, huh? I mean, you got
Yeah,
us, then you got Pedro. Who else you got
yeah,
today?
yeah. Uh, so far that's it.
Okay,
But a
well,
lot
that's
of
all
people
good.
call, a lot of people calling, and I mean, so far I've just been actually overwhelmed by the
Really.
positivity, and by everybody who's been seems to be excited for me and understanding of the situation. And I mean, I'm ecstatic. I can't wait. Obviously, it's I've known for a little bit, and we kind of wanted to make sure that we got the announcement out there, and we're able to control the narrative a bit. But I yeah, I was pretty open in my post that I made. I was very open and honest about this situation. And I think there's several levels to it. And I think over the last year or so, I think it's all kind of culminated in this. And yeah, I mean, I honestly feel very motivated and invigorated by this decision. I feel like it's going to allow me and free me up to do exactly what I love to do. I think there was just a lot of stuff, especially after the diagnosis with Ivy in December. And I mean, we can obviously talk more about that, but just in general, I think there was an immediate change in perspective for me. And having this opportunity to do this with a team that you know I respect immensely, and honestly with a lot of friends that are part of HWPO. I mean, close friends. It's pretty exciting.
I think one of the things that really few things that shined out in the way that you communicated it. Obviously, that situation with Ivy was a big turning point for you, but also just to kind of like you emphasized that the running of a business took a lot away from you. And most people, they'll always see you as this coach, this enthusiastic, outgoing, energetic guy on the sidelines. I'm a
Yeah.
little bit actually like scared to see how much energy you're going to bring if you don't have to run a business.
Yeah, I know. Seriously. Yeah, I don't think people really understand the grind, or they do. I mean, maybe they do, and I'm sure a lot of business owners do, but it's something you never shut off, right? You never are able to shut off. It's something that and I think just the sways, like the momentum positively and negatively over the last several years, depending on various things. An athlete would come, you get a bump in subscribers. An athlete or two would leave, and it's like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And dealing with the things that I'm not great at, right? Which is a lot of technological side of things with social media and content, and subscriber emails, and things that are just part of the deal, that you have to be aware of and conscious of. And Especially over the last year, I think, I felt a bit like I was on an island, kind of doing everything myself and traveling to a lot of competitions by myself. And, it wasn't an ideal situation for me. And I think, there have been a lot of factors that have kind of gone into that. Obviously when Kiefer left, and then obviously the biggest one being with Ivy, and our situation now with her is it just put a lot of things in perspective. And I really thought about it for a long time, and I came to the conclusion that I wanted to be able to focus on the two things that I love the most, and that came down to coaching, and it came down to my family. And you know I feel that this is the right decision 100%. I actually, listen, I building Underdogs is one of the great things I've ever done. And we, in my opinion, created a reputation that, that was second to none really over the years. We've done some amazing things. And for a mom and pop organization, business to do something like that in this space, I think up against, a lot of brands that had a lot more resources, and I think we were able to do most of what we did just based on reputation alone, and obviously results. And but I feel like this is the absolute right move right now. And I also feel like coming to HWPO with the resources they have, with the, I would say, excellence that these coaches have, and and everyone involved, the operations, the CFO, CEO, everyone behind the scenes. I mean, the team is second to none. I mean, they're all fantastic at what they do. I think it's going to make me raise my level and be even better than I've ever been before, and I'm excited to do that. And I've spoken to everyone and told them, listen, I'm coming in to be a part of a team, to be part of a family. I'm not coming in to be the man. I'm coming in to help. I'll be a cheerleader if you need me to be a cheerleader. I'll be, a confidant if you need me to. If you want me to be a mentor, I'll be a mentor. If you want me to help this, I'll help this. But in general, coming in as director of coaching, my biggest roles will be to help create the one-on-one coaching program, which HWPO currently doesn't offer. So have a lot of experience with that. It was something we did, and I think we did very well with Underdogs. And I'll also be coming in to help bolster the elite roster and build some champions, man. I mean, I'm coming to win, bottom line. And I'm letting it be known the door is open. You want to win? Our door is open. So come.
Open recruiting.
Well, listen, I'm never going to poach anyone ever. I won't poach athletes. I won't poach coaches. It's something I've had to deal with in the past, and I just purely morally will never do it. But what I will do is I will, let people know that, listen, like, obviously I have a bit of a experience in this and a pretty decent resume. And there's some coaches and athletes, that have come through HWPO that have been extremely successful, some that have come through Underdogs, and some that are still here that are incredibly successful. But the bottom line is we're looking to do it the right way. We want to help athletes maximize their potential as athletes and as people. And that's what I'm here to do, and feel like I've developed a pretty good reputation over the years. I feel like I've been able to, create relationships and basically be friends with pretty much everybody. And I feel like it's been a good situation, for me, with Underdogs. But I now feel like this is the next iteration of, myself as a coach, and I'm excited for the Underdogs community too, because I think there's an incredible opportunity at HWPO. The athletes, I think the resources will be immense, and then obviously our community, those that are subscribers to our template and whatnot. HWPO is going to offer a couple months free programming to see if it's the right fit for people, and I strongly encourage people to do that. I wanted to make sure that our community was well taken care of, and I think it was important for O'Keefe and the crew to make sure that that was the case as well. And we'll have some coaches that'll come over, and their athletes will as well. So overall, man, I just think it's a win-win situation. I don't see any negatives about it whatsoever.
You mentioned athletes, and obviously you've seen some of the comments probably, and some of the comments that we're getting into live right now. Well, there's one athlete in particular people are asking about, is Alex Gazan. And, I think for people that, I mean, it's a legitimate question, but how did Alex use, is she now an HWPO athlete?
She is. She's an HWPO athlete now. And I think she took the news very well. I think there are a few athletes that you get in your career that just become, it's hard to describe, just become family. They become someone who's so important to you that you don't make any decisions without talking to them. And Alex was involved in my conversations, just to get her opinion on things, and I wanted to make sure she was happy with things. And she is, I think, extremely excited. I think, again, I think there are opportunities that we will be able to have, and opportunities that HWPO presents that are immense. And I think for her coming into her prime and recovering from her injury and all those things, I think we're very excited to be able to utilize those resources. And, I've had a lot of discussions with O'Keefe about, Alex and about what I think she can be. And, they're 100% on board in helping her get to where we think she can get to. And obviously, first and foremost right now is her recovery. And, she's still doing that. And, we're not at 100% yet, but we're getting there. But I think in general, there are some opportunities here, with HWPO that I think make the opportunity for her to maximize her potential, immense.
Justin, I mean, obviously there's a ton of excitement looking forward, but I wanted to just take a second, if it's okay with you. When did you actually start Underdogs?
So I would say we started Underdogs. I mean, officially it was 2021, but really, like I would say we officially started Underdogs because we started talking about it, when I moved to Vegas in 2020. So, that when we made the move here to Vegas, obviously I at the time owned a pretty well known and successful affiliate in New York called CrossFit Dynamics. COVID happened. Yeah, shout out Dynamics. Damn right. COVID hit, and for anyone that was in New York at the time when COVID hit, it was a fucking disaster. And they demonized gyms and they villainized gyms and they shut us down. And it was a situation where a few months in, Ash and I looked at each other and said, we've built this amazing thing, and I don't know if it'll ever be the same. And, you live in New York City, it's incredibly expensive. We were concerned about burning through our savings, and, we had no revenue coming in. We had a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old at the time, and we decided to move to Vegas. And, we decided to move to Vegas, one for, living, the costs were great. We decided obviously we wanted to be somewhere warm. And I had, she had some family and I had some athletes here. And at the time, it's funny, right? Like I just look at I look at some of the similarities. Before we moved, I had my talk with Carrie, which was basically like, hey, we're thinking of doing this. What do you think? And she took about 10 seconds and she was like, okay, when are we moving? So it's just incredible to have,
you picked a good time for that. I think it was pretty easy to convince people to leave New York City.
Yeah, I think so too. And but I also think, that to have that type of relationship with someone that you coach, to have that type of relationship with your athletes is special. And, Carrie was a big part of that. And obviously Alex is a big part of that now. And, so it's been 5 years, and I feel like I said, it's been pretty, a pretty unbelievable run, man. Really successful. And, I feel very proud about what we've been able to accomplish. I feel really proud about, all the athletes that I've been able to coach, and there have been a bunch, and some that are still with me and some that aren't. But at the end of the day, if you go back and look at, the success of those athletes during their time here across the board, it was pretty damn impressive. For the most part, I would say felt we did a really good job. I think that's all you can really, I think it's really all you can ask for. Not to mention the fact that my relationships with most of those athletes are still really good, and I think that's something else I'm very proud of.
Justin, just as one thing, quickly, can you, how old are you?
50.
50. This is just
in the prime of my life, baby.
It's been something that I've noticed, I guess, increasingly, maybe over the last 20 years or so, is that there's just this change in the way that the world is, right? And for a long time, like my grandfather had the same job for 45 years, and then he was 65, and then he retired. And I think a lot of people in that generation is very similar. My dad's been doing the same thing since the early 80s, and he just doesn't know how to do anything else. But for us, I would say if you're like maybe under 60, eventually you kind of got to this point. Even some people in their 60s, I know, that late in life have made these like big changes, you know, whether it's
Yeah.
moving or starting a new business or leaving a business that you've built or something like that. And I wanted to ask you, as someone who's done it, you know, a couple times over, you know, do you ever get more confident in making a big change like this? You know, and then you can say whatever you want on
Yeah.
the back of that.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm not late in life. I'm hoping I'm just kind of right in the middle. But yeah,
Hey, wait,
I would say,
What did Snorri say the other day? Halftime, baby.
yeah, halftime. Right, exactly. I would say I'm seasoned at this point. Um, but yeah, I I've taken a lot of risks, you know, in my life. I just kind of feel like I live by that rule that, like, if you don't ever take a risk, you'll never get in anywhere in life, you know. And I think it was that way when I was a musician and a recording artist, and it was that way when I felt like, you know, even getting into opening an affiliate, you know, and I mean, I've been doing this a hell of a long time, you know. And then obviously the move to Vegas and the start Underdogs, and now this, and I feel like this is less of a risk. I just feel like this fits. I feel like this is right, you know. So, you know, I think there's always butterflies when you do something like this, and this is officially day one, right? I mean, we've been talking about this for a while behind the scenes and with the team, and you know, we knew this was going to be the announcement date, and we were hoping we'd be able to make that announcement without it getting out, and you know, and seems like we were able to, which is awesome. But in general, uh, I I think I'm confident just simply because of where I'm going. You know, I think I'm confident in myself. Just I think from years of doing this and feeling like I have a pretty good hold on being a coach, and I feel like, you know, I mean, maybe I'm not for everyone, but I feel like in general, you know, I've been successful, you know, with the athletes that I've coached, and um, but I feel like the team that I'm going to is top notch. You know, I'm really I'm really a big fan of everyone. Matt, you know, Fraser and I have had a relationship for a long time. He was a Northeast athlete, right? And I obviously owned an affiliate in the Northeast, and you know, I became aware of him. I mean, semifinals 2013. I think he came in sixth, and I just remember us all being like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And then the next year, he finished second at the games, right? And was winning everything locally, and you know, and so we developed a relationship up in the Northeast, and he came into Dynamics a couple times, and then obviously, once he became a coach, and then once he, you know, started HWPO. When I was coaching Danielle, we went out there and trained with them, and he and I got to spend some time together, and I think we just connected on a human level, you know. And O'Keefe and I have been friends a long time, you know, since Grid 2014, you know, where he was one of the agents representing a lot of athletes. Over the years, he and I, you know, have obviously been friends, and then we were on Death By for a while, which was on Talking Elite Fitness. I felt like our relationship got better, and honestly, within the last year, we've gotten really close. Fraser and O'Keefe came out here. I don't remember when it was. It was last year sometime. We were dealing like head on at the time with stuff that was going on with Ivy, and you know, they came here for High Rocks, and Ash, my wife, and I went out to dinner with them, and you know, we kind of told them what was going on, and you know, ever since then, O'Keefe every couple of weeks would check in to see how Ivy was doing. You know, just shoot me a message. People don't have to do that, you know. And we weren't talking about business. I wasn't part of the team. It was just purely him reaching out to make sure that, you know, she was doing well, and that I was doing well. And that meant a lot to me. And I think uh, you know, I think when that happens, and for me, that's the shit that's more important, you know, and most important. And it felt like, you know, this guy taking the time to do this is somebody that would have my back, you know. And
Well, I mean, hundreds of people, if not more, will resonate with what you're saying about O'Keefe. I mean, he's one of these guys that the more you know about him, the more you're like, how does he find time to make me feel like his buddy?
Yeah, it's
Like,
really true. Yeah. No, I've been absolutely amazed. Like, I flew out to Boston and he and I just chopped it up for a day and a month or two ago. I can't remember exactly what time, but just, it's incredible. I mean, the guy, we're having an in-person meeting and he's like, hey, I got to jump on a investor call for 20 minutes. And then, hey, but I mean, then I got to go out with he and his wife for dinner and I had never met her and she's amazing. And I mean, I feel like there's a lot of symbiosis, he and I, I also just think it's gonna be really fucking cool for he and I to just be able to hang out. Like, like similar age, we've been in this a long time. We have, I think, a lot of experience, a lot of scars, but at the same time, a lot of positive experience too. And, I'm stoked about that. And then just everybody else, I've had a really good relationship with Marconi and Josh and Michelle and I had a great conversation with Jake Douglas the other day. There's just a lot of people that I'm really excited about, working with, Presley behind the scenes and Aaron, director of ops. Like they've all just been amazing. And I have no doubts that that's going to be the case moving forward. And I plan to I plan to come in running, you know what I mean? Like I plan to come in and try to, be the best addition that I can. And like I said, I'm highly motivated. And I think we're gonna be able to produce some magic. I really do.
What's the obviously you can only say so much, but what's the first thing you want to get done? I mean, it's day one right now. I know it's hard. I've been put in like positions where it's like you're in a position of change right now, but you have to,
Yeah.
you have like a list, like, okay, we need to do this first, we need to do that first. I mean, is obviously you've already talked to all your athletes. You probably, I don't know if you've reached out to current HWPO athletes like, Vellner or Brooke. I mean, I guess Brooke is still at HWPO, Samuel Quant, other athletes, even that they have. I mean, what's the first thing on your list that you want to get done?
Yeah. So, my role coming in is, two or threefold, I would say. The first one is I'm going to come in and help build the one-on-one coaching program, right? Individualized coaching program. Right now it's not something that's offered. So that's really going to be a big project. Coming in to help create the structure. Stephen Fawcett is amazing at what he does, and he's director of product. So he and I are kind of working together to build the one-on-one coaching program. So we're putting that together now to be able to bring to market within the next few months, and that's going to be a big focus of mine, obviously. I think another massive focus is obviously helping to bolster the elite roster in general. I haven't had a chance to speak. I spoke to all the coaches, I didn't want to step on any toes with athletes. And obviously I will, have the opportunity to do that, in the next few weeks. And I've let everybody know, like, I'm here to help however I can, obviously those coaches have been doing an incredible job with their athletes. And have been incredibly successful. So I'm just here to help however I can. And then I think the third piece of that is what I'm doing here. I think to be a mouthpiece, I feel like I've always had a very good relationship with the media and I feel like it's something that I enjoy doing. And I like to talk to people so I feel like that will be something that I will kind of take hold of is being a mouthpiece for HWPO in the public eye and being able to talk about what we're doing and obviously be able to be able to just give people an idea of some of the exciting things we have coming up and whatever they whatever I'm allowed to talk about, I will. I like to talk. So in general, I'm just excited, man. I just think it's going to be cool.
In addition to the changing anything, I saw someone was asking if you're moving. Are there
No,
any other
not
like
moving.
big life changes associated with this?
No, staying in Vegas. I think obviously in the future, having the opportunity to be able to still bring athletes here, and it's a great destination. And obviously there's, Vermont and the East Coast. I think it's going to be pretty cool because I think we're going to have a little East Coast, West Coast thing going. And yeah, thanks, bro. Thank you. And the feeling is mutual, very mutual. So yeah, no, I'm not moving. We have built roots here. We bought our house, and my wife and I love it in Las Vegas. And our kids are here in school and they love it. And so we're just we're excited. I'm excited to bring HWPO here, honestly.
And I mean, people follow your wife and her stories. I mean, obviously you have one of the best SWAT teams in Las Vegas that's within call.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was crazy, huh? That was wild. But yeah, no, we love it here, man. So yeah, we're not planning on moving anywhere.
And you got a pretty good community there. Like you talked about the athletes. I mean, you coached a team that a lot of those athletes live there in Vegas. A lot of athletes come in. It's an easy location to come to as well. And then you also have a very good relationship with not just one, but basically two affiliates that you do a lot of work with.
100%. Camp Rhino is awesome. And we're training right now at a Camp Rhino Northwest, but we obviously, we're in Camp Rhino Southeast for a long time. And, both gyms are amazing. And, but Camp Rhino Northwest, which is where, we spend most of our time because that's where most of the athletes, live up there now. They've just been amazing, and incredibly inviting. They've been accommodating, and those guys are so cool. And that's where Alex started her journey. She's family with that gym, and they obviously supported Underdogs immensely, and I've spoken with them, and I know that they'll support HWPO as well. And so yeah, it's a great situation up here for sure. Or I would say over here, not so much up here, but over here.
Pull that comment up from Rodri.
I get it, man. It's the bald old guy thing, That's freaking hilarious. Wasn't he already the boss?
It's especially funny in the context of the question I was about to ask you. Because
really?
It's completely different. It's such a different thing. But that was too funny to not pass on that. No, I did want to ask you about Ivy and kind of about your kids in general and the role that they've played in your life. Obviously in the announcement that you made this morning, that was one of the, if not the first thing that you mentioned, that this was like this big thing for her was a cascading kind of domino effect for you. I think that in life in general, or if people have kids, are parents, or even if you just like me, if you just know people who have kids and spend time around them, maybe it's even easier for me from the outside to just watch how, of course, the parents can kind of mold and teach the kids, but a lot of times if you're open-minded to it, the kids can teach parents so much as well. And since it was like kind of such an important part of this announcement for you, I just did want to give you a chance to talk about what's going on with her and what you and Ashley have kind of learned through this process the last nearly a year since finding out.
Yeah, for sure. Ivy was diagnosed with IgA nephropathy. And for those that don't know what it is, because I didn't know what it was, it's a very rare kidney disease that affects specifically the protein levels in her urine. And it's, unfortunately, it's a chronic illness. It's not something that has a cure. It can be very serious, and so far, she's doing unbelievably well, but she is on a lot of medication, and it's obviously not ideal. And I think there's a lot of ways that it can go, but obviously we're just trying to stay as positive as we can. I think some of the toughest things are just like, we've been in a battle with our insurance company for the last couple of months trying to get her on a different medication that they just continue to deny. And it's just the reality of unfortunately the medical field, and it's a tough situation. It's wild to see that there are companies and entities out there that you could do something that's beneficial for a child, and they won't allow it. And that's the reality of the world, and it's the reality of the world we live in. But she is freaking amazing. Anyone that knows her, I mean, people come to the gym and ask who the best athlete in the gym is, and I always tell them it's Ivy. She's an absolute freak. She's one of the youngest level 6 gymnasts in the state. She's an incredible athlete, rock climber, incredible student. She was just student of the month at school. And she's crushing it, and we just want her to be able to continue to crush it, forever. Really, that I think the thing as a parent that you want is your kids to be able to live their dreams and do the things that they want to do. And so we're trying to give her every opportunity to be able to do that, and I think it's been challenging. It's been challenging just because, unfortunately what this disease can do. And but it's reality, and I think, listen, everybody goes through shit. We are not special. We are, but I think life definitely changed a bit when this happened, just your perspective on things. And, but we're doing amazing. She's doing amazing. And no one should feel sorry for us. I just, I think I'd love for people to just Google IgA nephropathy and look it up. And, if you feel like going and supporting the foundation, please do, because, they're trying to do some amazing things for kidney patients and, for kidney disease. And, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we were at with it. And, a lot of things have changed as far as her diet is concerned, and, doing things like that. And we're just trying to attack it head on, and do the best that we can for her.
Yeah. I think, the thing that you kind of got to at the end is like, everyone's going through something. There's always opportunities for these lessons. And that's, I think, how I've been, how I try to approach it. I got to spend this little bit of time with you guys recently out there for a day or so. And I got to see, firsthand the things that people probably don't often see. It's just like, the vulnerability of people who are going through something when they're home. And I live with another family here, and they go through things, and you get to see how they handle it. But I wanted to ask that question about learning from the kids, because I have this opportunity too, even though they're not my own kids, sometimes to see how they deal with hardships and how resilient they can be, and how it's just like, so sometimes like the gift of the innocence or the naivety of the short-term memory of just like finding a way to rally and go back out there and try again, and give it your best on a daily basis. Cause that's all that any of us can really do.
Yeah. And she knows, and she'll tell you, she'll tell you, I'm Ivy, I'm 8 years old, and I have a rare kidney disease, like she'll tell you, she knows, and she understands, medication that she takes has side effects, and we try to explain some of those things to her when she's feeling them. But also, like, she doesn't really ever, like, it's very rare that you ever see it negatively affect her, like mood wise or get down or any of those things. She's just crushing shit, and it's all she knows. And I expect that it will continue to be that way. And we just hope that we're able to continue to, to treat it and keep her, as healthy as humanly possible for as long as humanly possible. And, hopefully she'll be able to continue to do all the things that she loves to do. She trains 16 hours a week right now for gymnastics, and she loves every second of it. So yeah, it's pretty awesome, man.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad that, people can see that that's a big part of your life. And obviously this decision, so it's driven by the two things you love the most in your families. And for people who know you, it's obviously one of those things.
Yeah. Thank you.
There was
I felt, just quick, I felt it would be disingenuous to not discuss it or share it. And I know, a lot of people keep things close to the vest, but I felt like it was important I felt like I've kind of always been someone who likes to be transparent, and, this is something that we're dealing with. This is reality. I could have come up with different reasons, I'm sure, that would have sounded fine, but it wouldn't have been the full truth. And the full truth of the matter is, that this played a big part in the decision, and it played a big part in the decision to just, not to, to not have to necessarily be, I don't want to say tied down by a business, but just in general, just, that feeling of never being able to shut off ever, it's something that, anyone that owns a business understands that, and you have to give it, full attention at all times. And, there are things, not to say that, I'll work any less hard here, but it's just different. There are a lot of things you have to put attention towards that maybe aren't your favorite thing to do. and that's, that's not something that I wanted to compromise anymore. Yeah, that's all.
You probably should make the taxes situation simpler.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Less filing, that's for sure.
Business certainly complicates that.
Yeah,
But
that's sure.
Along the lines of business, actually, there was a comment a little earlier from Jeff here that I thought was a great opportunity to talk about something with someone. And you've already, mentioned it yourself. You've been around for a long time, and so you've seen, 10 years isn't even really enough here. Like, I think we can look back 15, 20 years even. And Greg,
I've been in
Greg
this almost
Glassman
20 years, so I know.
And Greg Glassman has referenced this concept as well, that like he created something, that has kind of paved the way for a lot of other people to
Yep.
create something of their own as a byproduct of CrossFit in 24 or 5 years ago when it first kind of got that name. And as somebody who has watched that happen from the gym side, from the owning of a business side, from now joining in with another, company, and I think that it's kind of an amazing, like this statement that Jeff makes here is so true, but we don't
Yes.
talk about it that often. Like it seems like the negative stuff always filters into the limelight. But I wanted to give you a chance to talk about this and just however it makes you feel or what you think about when you see something like that.
I agree 100%. It's a great point. I felt this way 15 years ago when I opened my affiliate, the opportunity to be able to really and truly, like what I felt was to be the opportunity to be able to change people's lives, be able to change their lives through fitness, to be able to bring them, something that could, keep them healthier as they moved on in their lives, or change the course of their health and fitness, right? Like that was incredible. And obviously now with the training camps and what we've been able to do, I think for a lot of people, a lot of elite athletes, but also trickle down right to the general communities. It's incredible, and I was very proud of everything that I was able to create with CrossFit Dynamics. I was incredibly proud of everything that I was able to create, with help from many people, in Underdogs as well. And now I'm excited to join a brand and a team that has already accomplished so much. But I think just speaking to them and O'Keefe and the plans that they have, and it's just, I think that, there are some amazing opportunities and some huge things that are coming on the horizon. And, I'm just excited to be a part of that. But yeah, I think I think that statement was very apropos. I think it is amazing, and what I love about it is in general, or what it should be in general, at the base of it is people helping people, you know, at the end of the day, we're trying to help people maximize their potential. We're trying to help people get fitter through fitness, whether it's at an elite level or a base level. And at the end of the day, being a part of that is just amazing. I've been able to be a part of it in several different iterations, and it's an amazing thing for sure.
You talk about being a part of, creating underdogs. A big part of the underdogs is, obviously you're the face of it. I mean, you've brought employees on, but a big part of it that isn't seen is your wife. And
huge.
I mean, every time I go there, it's just having conversations with her, or her trying to convince me to move to Vegas, or anyone move to Vegas. But
she's a big Vegas opponent. Yes,
she is. Obviously, she is. She's part of the tourism board there. But is she gonna kind of? Is she stepping back from all that stuff? I mean, is she coming on board with HWPO, or is she just going back to, and I think that's part of the reason why you're doing that. So that way it allows her to kind of,
So Ash has two amazing jobs. Ash works for Beck Bodie. For people that don't know, Beck Bodie is a investment firm in Boston, small boutique firm, but they're incredible, wealth management, investments, etc. And they actually manage a lot of the elite athletes in CrossFit that, Ben Beck and Jim Bodie, but Ben Beck specifically is a big time CrossFitter, loves CrossFit. Actually, Beck Bodie has a team in Wadapalooza, SoCal. There you go. Carlos. Yeah. So Ash is head of client relations for Beck Bodie. She's unbelievable at what she does. Anyone that knows Ashley knows that, there are very few people in the world who are as good a people person as she is. She's unbelievable. She was that way at Dynamics. She was that way for us at Underdogs, and she's that way now for Beck Bodie. And she loves her job. It is remote, obviously, but she gets to do a lot of stuff. She'll be going out to SoCal to hang with the Beck Bodie crew in Huntington Beach. She'll be there, and then on the weekends she calls it her fun gig. Really fun gig. Yeah, she's a sommelier. So she works at Wino here in Vegas, which is a freaking cool wine bar, man. Over here by us, in Spring Valley, and at a place called the Uncommons, which is just a super cool little, area, a kind of outdoor mall, and just really, really cool. And Wino is something that she loves. She's been there over a year, and she works, the weekends at Wino as a sommelier. So she's got this amazing day gig that she does during the week for Beck Bodie, and then she goes and works at Wino on the weekends as a sommelier. It's pretty awesome, man. But I think she's really excited about this. I think she understands, especially over the last year, like the stressors of the business, of what that entailed. And, I think she understands that this is an incredible opportunity. I know she's been 100% behind the decision, and she also has close relationships with, some of the crew at HWPO through Beck Bodie, honestly. And I know how excited she is, but she won't be working for HWPO, but I know how excited she is about feeling like she is also joining part of she's joining the family as well. And Ivy and Jax as well, so I think it's just good for the whole crew, man. I think it's good for the whole crew.
Yeah. I had a chance to talk to her briefly at WFP, and she says she's really excited about I'm sure she's told you, but one thing she said, she was like very proud of you. And
Yeah, that's cool. I'm happy. She's
yeah,
proud of me.
she said that to me. I almost brought a tear in my eye because obviously this.
She's the unsung hero, though, man. Trust me. Like
and
she
I
keeps
think I
it
told
all
her.
together. There's no
Yeah, I told her.
question.
I think, and you said the same thing, but I told her the same thing. I mean, it's like symbiotic. It's like one can't happen without the other. And no, it's
Yeah.
just really cool to see. And I'm excited that she's going to be there. I mean, because you're not going to be there, correct?
No, so Alex decided she just wasn't quite ready. So we pulled her out, and so Ash is gonna go, and I'm down. I'm on daddy duty, bro. I
Yeah.
gotta take care of the
How the
kiddos when she goes.
how the turns have
So
tabled. How the turns have tabled.
yeah, turns have tabled. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of travel coming up, so we listen. It's a team effort here, and we don't have family here either. So it's something that we have to look at the schedule and say, okay, how are we going to do these things that we want to do or need to do or have to do, and part of that is the travel situation. And I'm stoked for her that she's going to get to go and hang out with that crew and do some of the things that they want her to do there. And I'll be here with the kiddos, making sure they get to school and Ivy to gymnastics and Jax to rock climbing and, all the things that we need to do for the family, for sure.
We had a question come in here from Barry, but I'll
Yeah.
get him open the scope a little bit wider for you. Was a change coming for you kind of regardless, and it was just that this ended up being the right thing? Or what was the process over the last 8-10 months thinking about how to reevaluate what you wanted to do?
Yeah. No, I knew a change was probably coming. I like I said, I just thought a lot on it, you know what I mean? And felt like things are just different now. But no, I'll be honest. I didn't talk to a lot of training camps. I only spoke and really and truly, I only spoke to O'Keefe, I will say, so Snorri Barron is an incredibly close friend of mine. And he's somebody who throughout the process, even at the beginning, before I made the decision, he was somebody that I would talk through some of this stuff and, just talk about the fact that I just felt like, when we found out about Ivy and, when Kiefer left and just, there were just some things that just felt a change inside me, and he was somebody, who was incredibly supportive and just a great friend throughout this process. And, but really and truly, I just had, when I started to think that this is what I wanted to do, the relationship that I have with O'Keefe is just special. And he was somebody that I went to, and I just felt like the synergy between the two brands was there, and I also felt like I might have the most to offer with HWPO just in the current state of where all the camps are at, and then also there were certain people I wasn't going to approach or talk to, and I don't have to go into that, but there was just some that I have no interest in working with. So, but in general, it really was kind of a one camp situation, yeah, there wasn't a lot of courting or any of that type of stuff. It was just simply like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And, Keith was like, fuck, well, if that's what you're thinking, man, we would love, the opportunity. And I said, well, let's talk and let's try to figure it out. I want to make sure that I bring value. I want to make sure that I have something to give. And I think we were able to figure out, where I would be able to fit in, without stepping on toes and without coming in and rocking a obviously very successful boat. And I think we were able to figure that out. And obviously there'll be some maneuvering and there'll be some, there'll be some things we got to figure out. But I mean, in general, I expect it to be a pretty smooth transition.
PC, what else you got?
My children are out there causing a ruckus. I don't know if you can hear them. The playroom is right next door, and you can hear them just banging shit.
Did you coach Fraser when you were in grid? Were you okay? I wasn't sure if
No,
you
he
still
was on New York. He
That's
was
what it was.
yeah.
Rhino.
We were adversaries. He was on New
That's right.
York, and I coached DC.
That's right.
So no, we never coached, but we were both part of the grid family back in.
Yeah.
He just played in 14. But yeah, I was there 14, 15, 16 during, the time that it was alive. No, never. We did beat him though. So,
So you got 1 game win streak, right?
Yeah. We were able to win the championship the year he was there, so that was good.
Did you are you I mean, have you talked to him? I mean, just obviously you've talked about you working with O'Keefe, but I mean, getting the chance with work with Matt. Obviously, we have Matt pretty much after I believe the last athlete pretty much I guess was coaching was Catherine. But he's obviously stepped away, becoming more of a father, but he's still deeply involved. Have you talked about how to get more involved? Maybe like, hey Matt, maybe try this out for me, or maybe sending like potential recruits or athletes up to train with them, something like that. I don't know. I mean, what discussions do you have with Matt?
Yeah, so Matt and I had a long discussion at the games and got to hang out a bit, and it wasn't 100% done, but we were well into talks and stuff at that point. And he was just unbelievably supportive and excited about the opportunity, to work with me. And I told him obviously that was the case. And he and I have always had a really good relationship, just as friends, and I think we both respect. Listen, he's the greatest individual male athlete to ever live. And, I think he respects what I've done in coaching. And I absolutely think it's, imperative that he is involved if as an advisor, like something along those lines. I mean, I'll be flat honest with you. Like, we're trying to figure out a time for me and Alex to go out to Vermont. He's never really had time to spend time with her. I just think the things that he can impart, the knowledge that he can impart is invaluable. The very few athletes have ever been a part of this ecosystem that have, I would say, have obviously been as successful, but just as far as, dominant. And also, I talk about there being 2 bulletproof athletes in the history of this sport. And that was Matt Fraser and Tia Claire Toomey. They're the 2 bulletproof athletes. And you don't get to that point unless you know some things. And just to be able to go and have her sit in a room, and talk, or have him come and watch and be able to give those little cheat codes, it's something that is incredibly valuable. It's incredibly valuable for the HWPO community, for the athletes that are looking to level up and become champions, and I'm hoping that me coming in, will help inspire him and to help out and be, more, be present at some of that stuff. But listen, he's got 2 young children, and I understand what that means. And I understand the time that takes. And I understand, listen, he and Sammy are a hell of a team. So I know that that's his top priority, along with the HWPO community in general, right? Like, he's very heavily involved in the community, and I think that's most important to him. But I'm hoping he'll carve out a little notch for the sports side, and for some of our elite athletes to just be able to learn some things from him, because obviously, it's a special thing to have somebody like that in your ecosystem, especially when they're the guy,
when I hear you talk about that, and this thing that you've kind of mentioned about potentially going there and having him one-on-one give the feedback, he's done that before with athletes. But I wanted to kind of take a step back and give you a chance to talk about something that I think is a lesson that every coach learns at some point, which is the difference between the message and the messenger, and how you can kind of rationalize that in this scenario. Because you could go there and you could sit down with Matt and you could show him the footage and he could give you some feedback, and you could bring it back to Alex, and it may not have the same impact as her getting a chance to do that with him. And sometimes, for someone like you, I don't think this is an issue for you, but for some coaches, it certainly could be that sometimes that could be a hit to the ego. Like, I've been telling them this and they're not doing it. And then that
No.
person told them and now they
Yeah.
want to do it. Like, what would you say to coaches out there that have experienced that?
I would say if you're here's the way I've always looked at it. If your relationship is the way it should be with your athlete, then learning from other coaches and having them gain more knowledge to be a better athlete, like it's something that can only be beneficial. There's nothing you should be afraid of, and maybe early in my career, 15 years ago as a coach, I might have, been like, but man, no way. Like, I feel very confident in my ability to impart information, but there are unbelievable coaches out there who I know can help, and who I know can, and there are there are things that you see and you look at every day, and there may be a perspective that you don't see. There may be something that, maybe you miss, or just maybe somebody says a different way that clicks. And I think that's incredibly important and valuable for athletes. And yeah, I just think that opportunity there. And I also think the opportunity of having just amazing coaches around, it's not just Matt, but like, I had an unbelievable call with Marconi the other day, and the guy he's been here and we've had a great relationship over the years. And, I'm sure that there are things I'll be bouncing off him. I mean, he's been through the wars the last several years. And, I just think that coaches that can collaborate, and if you can have a relationship where it's a team and it's teamwork and you're collaborating for the collective good, like that's just fucking great, man. I'm excited about that. Like that was why I created Underdogs. And I felt like for a long time, that's the way it was. And, and I think with HWPO, I think that's what we will strive to create, and even more so than maybe what has already been done. But I know that they already have that type of relationship, and so now I'm just excited to be a part of the team and a part of the family. And, I think that's going to create more and more opportunities for our athletes, which is the most important thing.
We don't want to keep you on. We want to give you an hour break, before you jump on Pedro. I think we left some bone on. We definitely left some bone on the meat for him. But speaking of that, you're going to go on. You mentioned earlier that you want to be more forward facing. You want to have these engagements with the media. You obviously keep track of the media. You know what's going on there. It's a really very weird place in the media now. I mean, does that change now? Before when you were running Underdogs, it was your company. You can say what you want. But now, being a part of a bigger brand or bigger company like HWPO, how do you approach the media or some of the negativity? For example, you mentioned Alex and her not going to SoCal, and there was speculation that, rumors that the reason why there are rumors out saying that she wasn't going because some of the team members didn't want there. But you were in the comments, other people were in the comments. But
yeah.
How are you taking that role as also, like you said, being forward facing towards the media?
Yeah. I just think in general, I have nothing to hide and never have. I think I've always been very transparent. I kind of wear my emotions on my sleeve. You guys know that. I think in general, like I have always looked at it in the sense of I am an advocate for athletes and for the sport, right? And if I don't do my part, and that means taking interviews and giving podcasts and trying to help drive things forward, if I don't do that, then I feel like I'm not doing my job, and I may not agree with everyone or agree with everything that's being said. And I may not, there are, sometimes when, I obviously in the community right now, I would say, that not everybody gets along the best. And, I don't necessarily want to go and dive into the reasons for that. But what I will say is this, like, I feel like it's my responsibility to advocate for my athletes and to advocate for the sport. And I feel like that means that sometimes I got to step out of my comfort zone and do things that, in my opinion, are better for athletes, better for the sport. Then that's what I'm going to do, and so I feel like for me, it's important that I talk to everybody. It's important that I explain what I'm doing, and what we're going to be doing at HWPO so that they get it from the horse's mouth. And there's no rumors and there's no speculation. And that if they want to ask a question, just come and talk to me. Like, because I'm going to be honest and open about it. And about the shit that happened with Alex, listen, I'm always going to stick up for my athletes. You know me. Like, I look at Alex as one of my kids, and when I saw that, I got irritated. And maybe it's true. I have no idea, but I just hadn't heard it. And I hadn't heard any of that stuff. And then she got a bunch of texts from the team saying that, they didn't say it. So who knows? If it's true, it's true. If it isn't true, it isn't. But I'm always going to stick up for my athletes. Like, that's the bottom line. If people have a problem with that, then fuck them. I mean, that's just, like, that's the truth. I've been in this a long time, man. Like, I am who I am. I feel like I've developed a good enough reputation now that, people want to challenge me, fine. If you don't agree with me, fine, but let's have a fucking conversation about it. Like, that's the way I feel. And, so it's important to me that I'm open and honest and transparent, and that I'm that way with everybody, and that and that's just the way I feel.
Well, we love you for it. It seems like
Thanks, man.
You're getting a lot of support from the community as well today. Thank you for
so.
taking the time with us. Congratulations on an incredible opportunity. Make sure that Ashley and the kids know that too, and don't go too hard on them. They're just having fun next door.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate you guys. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we'll see Ash. I guess I'll text her, see what she's doing. Wednesday's my birthday, so maybe I'll.
Okay. Happy birthday. She gets out there Wednesday, so she'll be
All
there.
right. Well, there you go. I already made dinner plans for her.
Yeah.
Then. And then
Cool.
I think next thing, I'll see you in Scotland next,
Yes.
probably. Yeah. And then Brian will probably see you at WFP if he doesn't make a trip out to Vegas before. So.
Copenhagen. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll see you guys soon, man. Be well.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Justin. Appreciate it. Have fun today. In this, we're obviously at the family, and Ivy's definitely in our minds, and we're hoping things like this is the start of some really good stuff coming for you and the family.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate you.
Take care, Justin.
Bye, guys.
Well,
yeah,
I think just stands out to me is like the consistency, just him as a person, all the things he said. That's been my experience with him personally. I know it's been similar to you, and knowing the guys from HWPO as well as I do, when we first heard about this, I thought this was going to be a great thing, and I feel even better about it now, having this chance to talk to him.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've known Justin. I owe Justin so much in terms of how, I guess, the position I hold in this community. A lot of it, especially when it comes to media, I owe a lot to him, because it was during COVID when he moved out to Vegas when I was working at Morning Chalk Up, and he invited me out there. He's like, "Hey, come out." He didn't know who I was, just knew I was with the Morning Chalk Up, and then he invited me out, and that was when they were at CrossFit Culmination, when Bethany, DB, Carrie Pierce, Tola was there at the time. Alex was just brand new. Like, she literally, just coming off the heels of West Coast Classic that year, where I think she like finished 16th in the semifinal. She was a 19-year-old. She came over and started training with those girls. It was just, he's just open arms with me. And just like, I remember when he told me about him bringing on Ricky as an athlete, and the amount of trust that he has to share a lot of things with me and us, and especially being part of the media, it just shows a lot about his character. And then how every time we go out there, he invites us over. He always hosts people at his house. He knows how to work the Traeger grill, and the family's just, the kids are just amazing. They're they're definitely part of that gym. They're definitely part of their community out there. And it hasn't been, like you said, it hasn't been, it's been a kind of a rough year overall, personally, and also, from an underdog standpoint. And and to just see this is when we discussed this, it was just really cool. I was really happy for him, and then to hear Ashley say how proud she was of him, it really kind of made it full circle and made me think about like just the type of person Justin is and the type of people he surrounds himself with, and that how honored I am to be considered one of his friends and a friend of the family as well. And you've seen that as well. We spent a lot of times out in Vegas, a lot of time with him. I mean, when I was at Masters games, me and Justin went out to dinner every night. Every night it was like, where are we going to dinner? And just, it just continues, and just a great dude.
Yeah. And I think, the other thing that I, you and I know this, but sometimes I don't think about it. And especially in the last, I don't know, year or two, as the elite roster of HWPO has, gotten smaller and smaller, to the point of where he's saying it doesn't exist. I think that a lot of the narrative around them is that they're kind of failing, or that they're like disappearing from the scene. But then you hear him list off, not just Fraser and O'Keefe, but Steve Fawcett, Jake Douglas, Jake Marconi, Josh Godinez, Presley, Aaron, et cetera, like all these people that are involved there. And it was just a good reminder that, for these big companies, like the elite athletes is a part of what they do, that there's such a bigger impact of what they're having, maybe their hands in, that we don't necessarily see, because maybe it doesn't drive that many headlines, but it's a big team of people that, like you said, are extremely elite in their different fields. Some of them have kind of like pivoted a little bit to take on some different roles over there, but no shortage of impact is being made by HWPO absent of the elite athletes scene. And now to kind of have that come back, I think is something that probably, knowing those guys, they kind of miss it a little bit. They take a lot of pride, like all these coaches do, in being able to coach some of the best to the biggest achievements in the space. So, but maybe just a little reminder that, whether it's Mayhem or Proven or HWPO or Ed Brute, any of these camps that have been around, that they're doing a lot more than just the, 1 to 10 elite athletes that you and I, or that the common person would be aware of.
Well, it's not even an athlete; it's the community aspect of it. Like he mentioned Matt, and how Matt's like involved in the community. I mean, that box that they opened up in Vermont, it's now it's a CrossFit affiliate, fully ran box that's built a community, a huge community actually. It's like it's grown tremendously, and Matt enjoys being a part of that. Just going out there and being a part of that. And I think a little bit that's lost. Maybe he lost that because he went basically into being an elite athlete and not spending that much time with the community, and then just spending a lot of time alone. And I think now he actually gets to see that aspect of it, and what HWPO does for the community. There's a lot of stuff that they do behind the scenes that, they could easily like put out a press release or put something out there. Me and you both know, in terms of charity, in terms of how much money they've given back to the community, to certain products, to GoFundMe's. Whenever there's some type of disaster and there's a GoFundMe, it's not uncommon to go to that GoFundMe page and see like O'Keefe or something donated from HWPO. I mean, they still do this thing where I think they give money out to certain charities monthly. And that's the stuff that's not talked about. And I think that goes back to like the negative nature of media. It's like, everyone wants to read the headlines about what's wrong instead of what's right with humanity. And I think HWPO, they do the right things. They just not, they just don't, they pat themselves on the back. They don't need other people to pat them on the back.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anything else that you want to go over today while we're here?
I know there's a couple things. I mean, Barcelona happened this weekend. You did give me your picks. I'm sorry I did not put out your picks. That was something that we wanted to cover this weekend in terms of Barcelona. Big competition. I mean, it's with Madrid, the Madrid championships kind of taking a couple of years off. Barcelona's kind of taking the place of that as being a huge competition. Go ahead and talk about that while I bring it up.
Yeah, well, specifically, I want to talk about the guy who won in the men's division, Chris Chambers. If anyone hasn't seen, and if you do follow B.Friendly Fitness super closely, you will have known Chris Chambers, because he showed up at a competition, another competition in Spain that we live streamed earlier this year, and he was really good in specific things and seemed to have a couple of holes, like a lot of the bigger, very athletic athletes do that enter this sport. Chris is American, but I think he's living in Spain, so he's competing around there. And he, I think I picked him 5th or 6th in this field. You have guys like Enrico Zanoni there, and a couple of guys from Finland that I've seen do very well, and then a couple of Spanish guys that are always sort of in the mix, top 10, top 5s in different competitions there, depending on the depth. But I didn't, when I sent you those picks, I didn't know all of the workouts. I think that maybe there was still 1 or 2 that were missing, but it seems like Chris has taken a step forward. I was able to just exchange a few messages with him on Instagram, and he says, building the foundation, like more to come. So this is a name that you might just want to mention or mark down if you like, kind of looking for those up and comers. Maybe we should send his name to Cotler. He's recruiting some athletes. But no, this guy's, you see him there in the middle in the blue t-shirt there. And it was a really good weekend for him. Zanoni, who finished 3rd, was kind of on the outside of the top 10 even early on, and slowly kind of climbed back in there. And then the guy who finished 2nd, Victor Garcia, I don't know much about him. It's like, that's probably actually at one point I was going to actually go to this competition and do the live stream for them. And these are always like, the athletes are like, man, like I wish I could have gone there, talked to him, got to know his story, shared some of that. But Victor Garcia, there seems like there's always guys climbing out of the woodworks in Spain, and maybe he's the next one to add to the list. So that's kind of on the men's side. Chris was this big time standout for me. On the women's side, I think I actually got it exactly right in the picks I sent you. Andra Biergros and Elena Caratala. It's not that the field wasn't as deep, but Andra Moistis, she won this competition last year. I think she works really closely with Grit, Grit programming that is like closely integrated with this competition, and it's a big one for her to come and compete at every year. Biergros has been competing quite a bit this year, and she seems to find the podiums more often than not. And then, Elena Caratala, like when it comes to Spain and podiums, she's usually synonymous with that. So not too much surprise on this side, but 3 athletes that we know and know to be very good took care of business this weekend.
Yeah, and it's a pretty big event. It's gotten really big. I know Nike was a real big had a really big footprint in this. I mean, Nike's really big, and I mean, Nike's really smart about just being big in Spain. They understand how big the Spanish community is when it comes to CrossFit, functional fitness. I mean, it's grown in High Rocks too, and Nike's really asserted themselves. I think this weekend they had Gabby, Henrik, Eniol, and some other Nike athletes there. Just kind of
Lucy McGonigal, yeah,
was there, yeah, just kind of. Just being part of the community. I know this for someone like Gabby, I think this is like the 5th year she's been involved, and she's really tight. She's tightly connected with the, with the adaptive division there. And that kind of ties me into something else that happened this weekend with the adaptive games that happened this weekend as well in Vegas. And if you follow Cotler or Colin Porter, you saw that Cotler and the family made it out to the adaptive games yesterday. And I wanted to give a shout out to all those adaptive athletes. It looked like they had a great time in Vegas. It looked like it was a well-ran event. Obviously, Will Wad does a real good job of doing that. And then, shout out to all the champions, all the podium, everyone that's involved with that. But specifically someone that we know pretty well, finished. It's her last, she said it's her last competition. Last CrossFit Games competition. That's Amy Bream, who finished 2nd.
Yeah, and I'm in Amy obviously working with us at WFP, and she's a part of the talent team there that I work with. And there's a big WhatsApp group that we have. It's a very prestigious group. Honestly, a lot of international people and personalities that have been sending some pretty cool messages to her. Obviously, Katrin and Annie are a part of that, but also some of the people that are there on the floor working with her, Tommy Smith and Joe Siasso, who have become, huge fans of hers. Amy has a huge following, and she inspires many people. Ended up finishing 2nd this year, and she actually did, I think, the semifinals during the first week of WFP. Found a way to make that work, and then she was 10 days out from this competition during WFP to her step number 2. But she she was really grateful for the offer we gave her, and of course she wanted to pursue this year, and she found a way to make them both work. And it kind of goes back to that little lesson that we were talking about with regards to Ivy with Justin, is that whether you're 5 or 15 or 30 or 50, that's what every day is about. Is these are the things I want to do. These are the people that can help me get there, and this is the work I'm going to put in to make it happen. And Amy is as good an example of that as anyone that I've gotten to know in recent years. So super happy for her. I also want to give some love to Tom Miazga is a guy that I've worked with on the media side of things before. He's also a Wisconsin Midwestern guy, and it's a little unfortunate because I think he's won 9 times now. Is that he's a 9-time champion? But if you go to his games profile, maybe he had a different email address. I'm not sure, but it doesn't show it there because the nature of what that competition is changes all the time. So it's not like all housed in one spot, depending on who's been running it. But 9-time champion, I'm pretty sure that. Well, I guess we can borrow a line from Justin Cotler in terms of his division. That sounds like a bulletproof guy to me.
Definitely, I guess you could put him in that pantheon of athletes as well. I did want to send a shout out to CrossFit Media. They did a great job of covering the adaptive games this weekend. I don't know if it's the same team that did age group, because Kelly Laxton, a friend of mine who that we know, she was heading up that team that they had the age group games, and they absolutely just crushed it. It was probably the best coverage the game's ever done for their events. And then they, if it's the same team, which I would have made it the same team, whoever that team was, they knocked out of the park with adaptive games. And I think that's kind of the benefit. A lot of people, there's 2 sides of it. There's athletes who miss competing at the games, and there's some athletes that like it separate. But this is a good example of why having it separate than the games and on different weekends in the games, where it benefits those events, because they do get that notoriety, that attention to it. They're not sharing it with the other division. So I want to give a shout out to CrossFit Media on that. Great job on the last couple of events they've had. So they've really upped up their game.
Some of the external media did a really good job too. I mean, what Roderick was able to do, I think was that was great. That was great.
I think that should be a challenge he puts out. Did you see the blindfold box jump?
Dude, I was nervous.
I was scared for him. I was scared for him.
Dude, Roderick is a crazy athlete. Like, he's very impressive. And if you
look, very underrated.
Yeah, he got plenty of height on that one.
Yeah, he was. But I felt for him as soon as he landed that. I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" It was like my shins the whole time. I'm like, "He's not doing this. He's gonna step up." But when he jumped it, it's like, "Oh man." But no, he did a great job with it. I know, the media team that was out there was a top-notch media team. There's it's just really cool. It's just really cool. This week we'll be out on the road, like we said. We'll be on our way to SoCal. Got some cool stuff planned. We'll have more information coming out in the next couple of days as we formalize it. But we'll be back on the beach of Huntington Beach. So we both leave tomorrow morning. The girls will be joining us on Thursday, and I think Friday tentatively we'll put out a schedule of our shows, but the girls will pretty much be doing reviews and recaps, or previews and recaps for the Tier Cup, and Brian will be doing some coverage of the elite divisions, the individual elite divisions. Every
RX division.
RX. Which the RX divisions, I haven't gotten a final roster yet, but there's some impressive athletes and names I've seen on there, and it just looks like it's going to be a good time. And for the first time on Friday, I believe 10 o'clock Pacific, 10 a.m. Pacific, all 4 of us will do a podcast together, us 2 and the girls. So looking forward to that, and kind of just laying down what we have planned for the weekend. But
Well, you and I have talked about it for years, that the RX, which is generally the second division at Wodapalooza, is kind of on par with pro or RX or elite fields at many other competitions around the U.S. and Latin America in terms of quality, and that a lot of times it is a proving grounds or a pathway to some of the bigger competitions that get more coverage. Last year at Wadapalooza, there were some good athletes in that division, but I think this year it's even a step up from that. And so pretty cool to be able to work with Dylan and the guys and get some, for people who can't be there on site, get a chance to see some of those athletes in action.
Yeah. So that's what we got. So busy weekend ahead of us. We got travel day tomorrow. Wednesday, really not too much. I know today is also the first stop in Justin Medeiros' Relish Tour. 3 different gyms, 3 locations on his way to Tier SoCal. So we're hoping Wednesday, which Carlos put this up here, happy early birthday. Wednesday is my birthday, so I'm hoping maybe to get a workout on the beach with Justin and whoever. So if you're anywhere near Huntington Beach at 6 p.m. Pacific time on Wednesday, he will be doing a free community workout, for everyone. So, I'd like to hit that up. So, besides that, what else? Oh, what's your? I noticed what's your shirt say? No excuse. What does that mean? No more excuses, or?
Yeah, why?
Oh no, I was just wondering. I mean, I haven't seen you wear that shirt before.
Oh, I guess maybe not on podcasts. Yeah, this is from Joe. Got me this from his gym down there in southern Spain.
Oh yeah.
The other one says El Barrio, and then this one says no excuses. Yeah, no excuses.
Nice. Well, yeah, it was great having Justin on. It's really cool. I think Justin's the type of guy that, you'll probably be seeing a lot more of him. Not just even on our channel, but other people's channels too. Again, he's going on live with Pedro in like 40 minutes, 39 minutes. So, Pedro usually has really different questions than us. So I'm pretty sure it'll be a good watch. Like I said, we left plenty of meat on the bone for him. But yeah, that's about it. You got anything?
Nope. Looking forward to this week. Certainly will be doing some stuff, but it's a little less, I would say, intensive than usually when I go to the competition. So I'm, Tier Cup related. I'm just going to be enjoying the action, from the stands there with everyone. And it is a fun environment. It's a different feel. I think that a big topic of conversation this season has been how to athletes navigate increasing opportunities to go out there and compete. But for Tier Cup, I think that it's not so difficult for most of them to fit that into their schedule. Like, it's something that they want to do. It's something that is a different feeling. This team aspect, while still getting the chance to do some individual stuff, but you don't have to do everything. And if one, besides the athletic and competition side, what we saw last year is that sometimes you make some new friends as well. So different people getting to work together instead of kind of work out against each other can create some cool stuff. And that goes outside of the ring as well to other people that'll be on site in a little different environment. You heard Justin talk about how the relationships that he's built over time at some of these things, and that's certainly true for us as well. So it'll be a good weekend to catch up with some different people out there and see the athletes do their thing.
I got it. I actually wore it Saturday, Jeffrey. So I appreciate. Thanks for giving me that shirt. He gave me I ran into him as I was leaving Sunday from the Masters, the age group games, and he was coming out. I was like, "Hey, PC," and handed me a Jim Reaper's event shirt. So it was really cool. So I actually did wear that the other day. So thanks, Jeffrey. I appreciate that. I owe you a shirt. So speaking of, I know Brian's been kind of like, we need to do more shirts. We need to do some shirts. So I think we're going to follow up that. I mean, after Tier, we kind of have a little bit of a break before we have anything. Maybe we might come out with maybe like a holiday drop or something like that, or something just for you guys that we see on the road and who support us. I know you owe Lynn a lot of stuff, don't you?
Yep.
Yep. She's been keeping tabs. So yeah. So, but yeah. So we'll just close up the show. We were on last week, you were on last week on Friday. I wasn't able to make the show because of some things, but obviously we're I felt like you kind of ended the show abruptly, and I almost mentioned it to you. I almost texted to you. It's like, you just ended the show. You didn't say "Be friendly, our friends," and I thought last week was probably the most appropriate time to say that. And since I wasn't there last week, I know and this isn't supposed to be social commentary by me, and by all means, I don't want to get political or anything like that, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today, and I just said, it's okay. It's okay to be, it's okay to have conversations. It's okay to disagree. And you know what's also okay? Being civil about it and talking to people. And you just never know if someone's having a bad day or a good day or not. And for those people that are having bad days, because it is Suicide Awareness Month, and it's obviously a month. It's also a month that really weighs heavy on me as someone who tried to take their own life. I just, just check up on your people. Check up on your people. Check up on, if you see someone struggling, just ask them. Sometimes all it takes is you just ask them, "Hey, are you okay?" And just the simplest gestures might help them out. So, every day I'll choose humanity over anything else. So, with that being said, be friendly, our friends.